Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Harmonium, better you learn to play it. Better than playing chords is to play notes. It's going to be a line, but it's easier for you. Slow for me. Do we have any simultaneous translators? Those who can do it? Okay. Slow. Prabhupada, he said if you're going to play the harmonium, you should play it notes, not chords. So when I was asked to address my disciples, I asked, what about? I'm talking to them all the time. So there was a suggestion that I speak on what is my main service and how my disciples can help me in that. So I'll speak about that. Then there are a few other points that can be spoken about. My main service to Srila Prabhupada. Is the light on in there? Is anyone in there storeroom? My main service is writing educational and philosophical books. None of you at this point, and maybe never in future, can directly help me in that. Well, I need people of a certain amount of competency in English. No, not a certain amount, quite a good competency. And it is required, and scholarliness, maybe Mukunda Mata, possible. You can help at some point in the future. One way you can help me in my service is to ask the people outside to keep quiet, or just to go somewhere else and be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy somewhere else. Could distribute my books. They're meant for distribution. They are produced in Croatian and other languages. Could help producing them in various languages. And my lectures, these that are recorded. Distribution of my lectures has been it's been appreciated by various devotees in various parts of the world, so that's something else you could do, is help to distribute them. Distribution of Prabhupada's books is primary, of course, but among devotees particularly, my books can be distributed. So in that way you can help me. One other point a disciple brought up, she was asking about guru-disciple relationships. How can you know your guru when you don't see him very much? That was well answered yesterday by Prahladananda Swami, who gave the maybe surprising insight that, and Manida Prabhu further emphasized that, who gave the surprising insight that maybe it's better not to be with your guru physically. So, what are you all going to do now? Throw me out the window? Someone should be there. But the point is that real service is Vani Seva, service to the instructions. So if one hears the instructions and follows them, that is the best way to associate. As Prabhupada wrote about his own guru, he lives by his instructions and the follower lives with him. Of course, I am one servant within Srila Prabhupada's mission. There are many God brothers, others who are faithful in serving Srila Prabhupada's mission. We're all servants of Srila Prabhupada's mission. You should know what that mission is. You can serve me well by understanding what is Prabhupada's mission, understanding what are Prabhupada's teachings, as the discussion came up in class this morning, that many different ideas are being broadcast within our society as in the name of Srila Prabhupada, or sometimes directly saying that, well, Prabhupada, what he said was outdated and it's not relevant and this and that. So we should know what is actually the desire of Srila Prabhupada, what are his instructions. And I see my role as Guru in the service of Srila Prabhupada to make that clear to my disciples. That role has to become clear and to engage them in that way. That role might not, it might have seemed to be what's called a given, axiomatic. But in recent years there's been considerable divergence among various followers of Srila Prabhupada or non-followers or persons who are supposed to be followers of Srila Prabhupada as to what it actually means to follow Prabhupada. So I'm presenting in a specific way which is different to that of several of my God brothers, but which I understand to be faithful to Srila Prabhupada, and that you have to make your decision. You have made your decision to come to me. I will continue to instruct you in the same way. And well, I think we can see the difference actually, in as much as percentage-wise, if we were to make a survey, I think we'll find that among my disciples, they're doing in general better in following the basic principles and engaging in Prabhupada's mission than disciples of gurus who less strongly emphasize these basic points. So there is difference and non-difference. We're all servants of Prabhupada. There's difference and non-difference between Srila Prabhupada's disciples and gurus who are teaching and initiating in ISKCON. There is difference and non-difference. Non-difference is that we're supposed to be all teaching the same thing, but inevitably there will be some difference. And some difference is not necessarily bad, because Srila Prabhupada's teachings are not stereotyped. And some followers will emphasize some parts more. Srila Prabhupada gave instructions to different disciples, and some in different ways. In general, he emphasized very much preaching and book distribution, but then to some he emphasized that you should do Gurukul service, you should do deity service, you should develop the dhams and scientific preaching. So he emphasized different things to different disciples, and it's not surprising if those disciples engage their disciples in those services that Prabhupada engaged them in. And of course, devotees have different inclinations also to various services, and varying outlooks also. So within a certain range, it's quite acceptable and desirable and inevitable that various disciples of Srila Prabhupada teach their disciples in differing ways, but within a certain range. There are or should be limits. We should know what the limits are by which we're going outside the protective shade of Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. So previously I always emphasized to my disciples that we're all one family in ISKCON, and we cooperate with everyone, and it's all the same, there's just some minor differences of outlook and this and that. But recently I've changed my stance and I'm saying that we shouldn't just think it's that what everyone's teaching is right, because some who are in the position of leaders within ISKCON are teaching things which are pretty clearly not within the not within the range of what Srila Prabhupada taught. They've gone beyond the limit. Of course, this is subjective. That's where the role of spiritual intelligence comes in. But as I gave the example this morning, but I'll elaborate on that a bit more. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his important instruction that Asat Sangati Age Vaishnavacha Stri Sangi Eka Sadhu Krishna Bhakta. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction that a Vaishnava's behavior is to avoid bad association. And then he defined bad association as one who is attached to women, materially attached to women for sense enjoyment is one. And another is a non-devotee of Krishna. And the non-devotees of Krishna are further defined as Mayavadis and gross materialists. So, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly warned us not to associate intimately with Mayavadis. So, if someone is promoting association with Mayavadis, hearing from Mayavadis, even if it's the Hare Krishna mantra, there's a clear misunderstanding of Srila Prabhupada's instructions, which is and will more and more cause disturbance in the Vaishnava society. So, as you have faith in me, or even if you don't have faith in me, it's my duty to point this out. Of course, we may have to do so somewhat diplomatically within our society, but it's not all the same. It's not that all the gurus are teaching the same thing. Some gurus are doing some things which I wouldn't do. I wouldn't engage my disciples in doing. And even if your temple president says you have to help with this festival, this and that, because so and so is coming, I say don't get involved in that at all. There may be a clash in following Prabhupada's instructions, because Srila Prabhupada's instruction is to follow our temple authorities. But then if the temple authorities want to engage us in something which is against the basic teachings of Srila Prabhupada, then it's a dilemma. It's called dharma sankat in Sanskrit. The whole Mahabharata is full of this kind of thing. The Bhagavad Gita is based on that. Arjuna, he didn't want to go against dharma, but whichever way, whether he fought or not fought, he thought there's something wrong with both of the alternatives, so he was in a difficult situation. So he had to approach a guru to find out what's the best thing to do. And of course, Krishna didn't just tell him, it's this one, but he explained, and then when Arjuna was convinced that Krishna was right, then he acted on Krishna's instructions. So, it's not all the same, and one should be intelligent enough to distinguish between that which should be done and that which should not be done. At the same time, it's a very delicate situation. We want to maintain respect toward all devotees, but at the same time, if someone is preaching something which is seriously deviant, then something should be said. Anyway, those of you who have known me in this part of the world for some time know all about that kind of thing. It's unfortunate, but we have to distinguish truth from reality. Otherwise, if we just go by sentiment, everything is wonderful, then we find out everything is not wonderful. That was That's been a problem within our society over the years. There have been super gurus who people believed, and then they fell away, and then the disciples fell away because they were not fixed in understanding Krishna consciousness according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And they put everything on Guru. So when Guru went mad, he started to do things which are not properly Krishna conscious. The disciples also went mad and they lost their Krishna consciousness. So we should understand, when we talk about guru-disciple relationships, we should know what is a guru, what is a disciple, what are the respective duties. The duty of a guru is to teach as his guru taught. He teaches by practice and precept. Practice and precept. Precept means instruction, and by practice means you should also be fully engaged in Krishna's service, following Prabhupada's instructions on these things. Srila Prabhupada, as you probably know, wanted all his disciples to be initiating gurus. Not all have taken up that role. It's a heavy responsibility. In the beginning of initiations after Srila Prabhupada's departure, there were 11 appointed, and then there was some mistake made there that the 11 were considered equal in all respects to Prabhupada, and there was like a mystique created of a guru as some kind of supernatural being. Because that mystique that was created was not based on reality, therefore it failed. Especially in this Krishna consciousness. Anyway, the material energy, everything fails. But sometimes some things fail, it takes a long time to fail. But in our Krishna conscious movement, it's a very purifying movement. In as much as we can see that someone who doesn't stick closely to the Lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, they get battered by Maya pretty quickly. So, but anyway, there was this idea created of super guru, and then it should be a sannyasi, although grihastas can also be gurus. And then it was seen that the super gurus weren't so super. And then in reaction to that came the Ritvik idea that the guru isn't a guru, there is no guru, or Prabhupada's the guru, which is true, Prabhupada is the guru, but not in the way that they proposed. So they went from overinflated guru to no guru, and then there's a lot of confusion on these issues. So, now I'm telling my disciples that be a little careful. Don't just accept anyone sentimentally, whatever they say. Question it. Understand Prabhupada's books. And if people introduce other things, then we should be careful. Question that. You see. Myself also, if I were to say, I am an incarnation of Radharani's toenail polish. Why are you laughing? You should jump in the air in ecstasy and say, oh, our Guru has revealed his inner Swarup. Isn't that right? What do you think? Is it your duty as a guru, as a disciple, just to follow that? Maybe I am. There's nothing in Shastra against it. Nothing in Shastra to contradict that. So what would you say? You might say, how do you know Radharani wears toenail polish? That might be one response. Well, one thing we would see is that acharyas, they don't, in our sampradaya, they don't generally reveal their Srila Prabhupada he didn't. When he was asked several times, but he just refused to. That's one point. It's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he also didn't. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did, but very guardedly. He wasn't meant for public distribution. He also had very few disciples, but direct disciples. Or if I start to preach Mayavad, what would you do? I hope you would question me, and then if I persist, not accept it. You should be intelligent enough. I have no intention of doing that. But by saying that I want you to understand the difference, I want to teach you as Prabhupada has taught us, and others, I'm not saying all others by any means, please don't think that I'm saying I'm the only one and all others, I'm not saying that at all, but there are some leaders in our movement whose teachings are clearly, or teachings and practices are clearly not fully in accord with Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And even in the leadership in general, there are some anomalies, just like in the GBC, you see the minutes that come out, all the women are referred to as Prabhu, so it's accepted at GBC. The GBC 2 or 3 years ago made a resolution requesting the BBT to incite annotations in Srila Prabhupada's books, explaining what Prabhupada said, explaining their understanding of certain statements of Srila Prabhupada, specifically regarding the role of women. So, fortunately, that was they rescinded that. But to think that they can alter Prabhupada's books by giving their own interpretation, it's very dangerous. Actually, let people write as many books with their commentaries on Prabhupada's books, but not that the standard editions of Prabhupada's books become commented on by someone else. That's very dangerous. Then the authenticity of Prabhupada's books becomes lost. So, there are problems not just with individual members here and there, but in our society at large. There is minimization of Srila Prabhupada directly, subtly, and we should. So I'm saying that I don't want to go along with this. I don't want my disciples to go along with this. There's no need to make some attempt at any big revolution, but we should know the difference. Now, by saying this, I'm obliged to say this, but at the same time, it puts myself in a dangerous position. Because we've seen in the past, just like Kirtanananda, he was supposed to be the one who had got it right, and everyone else was all off, and he was finished. So many super gurus. Bhagavan, I guess Kirtananda was the first super guru, and then Bhagavan, Harikesh. So. No, whatever. So by putting themselves in that situation, they became weak, actually, trying to take a position for what they're not worthy of. So I need your help also, that we can, in these difficult times of our society, which we hope will not continue, but at the present time there's not much sign of things getting better. Things seem to get worse, as is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Tas chanu dinam dharma satyam shocham kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshantayo balang smritihi. With the passing of every single day of this Kali Yuga, dharma, all these things decline. Every single day, dharma, first mention is dharma. Dharma declines day by day. Truth, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, bodily strength, and memory, power of memory. So all these decrease day by day. So unless our movement is very strong in following Srila Prabhupada, who pushed back Kali, then we're also going to be affected. In one sense, it's not surprising if our movement is affected by Kali, because the whole world, look around, the whole world is a terrible mess full of misconceptions and sinful life. The whole world is a terrible mess. So in one sense, it's not surprising if our whole society is influenced by this. But at the same time, we are supposed to be, this society is supposed to give shelter from that and push that back. So if we bring Kali in, then then we lost the point, right? So, puts me also in a dangerous situation. So we have to remain cool-headed, level-headed, stick to our practices, and be intelligent, and not be offensive, and not think, we're all right, everyone's all wrong. That's also a dangerous mentality. So, like I say, it's a difficult time, but we have to remain Padma Patramevambasa, like a lotus leaf, which is in the water but not affected by the water. It means if the water will not remain on it. And this movement has great hope. There's no other movement which is going to implement Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. There's no sign of anything like that. There's great hope in this movement. There's great hope that with the whole world situation deteriorating on every front, that at some point people might start to wake up en masse and realize what wonderful things are in Srila Prabhupada's books, and then come to our movement and say, hey, guide us, and then we'll have to get our act together because the public want us to. If we're catering to public opinion, which seems to be our outlook at the present time, then it may be that the public will wake up to what amazing instruction is there in Srila Prabhupada's books and tell us to, hey, guide us, show us, and then we'll have to get our act together. Who knows what the future is? In many ways it doesn't look very bright, but then there is good hope also. Alright, I said my bit. Anyone like to say anything? Oh yeah, that I want to say. You have to help me. Don't make me into some kind of super Maha 1008 nonsense. Just keep level-headed. And you can. It's a delicate thing, but if you feel that something should be said about me, to me, that I'm not, just say it. That's all. Better that you be rude than I fall down. If I'm deviating, catch me. That's all. It begins subtly. I'm also in a dangerous situation in as much as to write my books, I have to go away from time to time. Prabhupada did that sometimes also. He would go away from the temples to concentrate on writing. So I do that also. It's not very good though, actually. It's better to be in the temple, attending the programs, but the problem is that if I'm in the temple, I'm getting... There's so many things going on and people all the time coming and I'm not able to concentrate. So sometimes I go, now in Croatia, Slovenia for the next 3 weeks. I'm probably going to be in different places writing. So it's not so healthy to do that. So anyway, keep an eye on me. Does anyone have any questions or comments, please? Let me see if there's anyone else. Yeah. Okay. Please say.
Ja bih htio podijeliti sa Maharađom jednu realizaciju na tu temu koju sam imao svih ovih godina.
I would like to share with Maharaj one realization which I had many years.
Mnogi bhakte, ne znam, vjerujem da su i drugi bhakti imali takvu situaciju.
Why don't you put this over there and you can catch this?
Many devotees, I believe many devotees had similar situation.
Mnogi bhakti su mi znali prići i onako reći, ti si učenik od Bhakti Vikasa Maharađa i ovako su vam došli.
Many devotees would come to me and say, you are a disciple of Bhakti Vikasa Swami, and
čuđeni sva. Da bi sad na ovom kampu stekao realizaciju.
In this camp I get realization.
Jedan fini bhakta, Suvarna Bindu Prabhu,
One nice devotee, Suvarna Bindu Prabhu,
koji vole svi bhakti u Hrvatskoj.
Which is liked by all devotees in Croatia.
Zato je jako striktan.
Because he is very strict.
Dijeli knjige i ide u Harinam.
He is distributing books and he is going to Harinam.
I onda mi je on pričao koliko ga inspiriraju tvoje lekcije.
And then he told me how much your lectures are inspiring me.
I tvoje knjige.
And your books.
I rekao je da misli da će tvoje knjige tek u budućnosti imati veliki značaj dok više neće biti tako striktnih bhakta.
And he told that in the future your books will be more important.
Dok neće biti, kako situacija ide, to će biti jedini vodič.
Those books will be the only guidance.
U onom što nam, kako bi bhakta trebali živjeti.
For the way which devotees should behave.
I onda sam realizirao da oni bhakte koji su stvarno striktni i koji slijede jako cijene tvoje knjige i tvoja uputstva.
And I realized that those devotees who are very strict, they appreciate your books.
A ovi koji ne, da će ti onako biti uznemireni, da to nije ni bitno.
Will be disturbed, but this is nothing.
Yeah, I'm writing my books not just for today, but for posterity.
Da, ja pišem knjige samo za danas.
I'm not just thinking about how they'll be accepted today, but in future also. Therefore, it's my most important service. Yeah. Oh, you. Let me see some of the older devotees first. Yeah, please say.
Mene zanima, rekao makro da trebamo surađivati s baktama, a trebamo biti oprezni s ovim drugim baktima.
I'm interested. I want to know that Maharaj told that we had to cooperate with others, but at the same time we have to be very careful.
Kako trebamo razvijati odnos s njima u budućnosti?
How we should develop our relationship with them? In which way?
Well, that's a general guideline, to cooperate and be careful. sometimes, in some circumstances, being careful the need to be careful may overweigh the need to cooperate. It may outweigh the need to, maybe more than the need to cooperate. Just like the general mood may be to cooperate, but if someone wants you to help organize a concert for a Mayavadi, then you may just refuse. The point is, we don't have to go out of our way to make enemies. It doesn't usually help the situation much. At the same time, in the name of cooperating and love and peace and all this kind of thing, we shouldn't be confused about what is proper and what is not proper. So these are all important. These principles are all important to cooperate, to discriminate. Sometimes these principles may clash. Yeah. So, what did you want to say?
Also about realization. I think many devotees had this realization. So I used to live on temple, and it seems that actually, if you go to a temple, there are many people who have different opinions or different mentalities, and that clashes all the time. This is like the purification mode, and so also sometimes it seems that some authorities even say something which is not right from a logical point, but even sometimes from the point of Shastra. And then if you see, but if they're our authorities, they're pushing us to force us to follow to do this instruction, but they're against the Shastra. So is it that we should reject this authority then, this point, or we should follow as kindness?
Just already dealt with.
So we should follow by the...
It's already dealt with, just right now.
It creates a negative... How to avoid this negative atmosphere at this point?
There is a negative atmosphere within our society, so how to avoid it? Keep good association. Do the best you can in a difficult situation. Yeah.
In Srimad Bhagavatam lectures, Srila Prabhupada mentioned once that he wanted to introduce Saligram Srila worship in the devotees. Now, if
in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So if some spiritual master in the disciple section write a book, then why devotee become jealous? If they are writing a book.
How is your statement connected with the question?
In future, Srila Prabhupada wanted to introduce Saligram Srila. So
what's that got to do with the question if someone writes a book?
If they write a book and introduce some other thing like what Srila Prabhupada desire, and if they write a book to distribute, then why the devotee should become jealous?
I don't see the connection between the statement about Shalogram Srila and the point about writing books. If people become jealous, well, that's the impurity. That's all. Otherwise, I don't follow I don't see any logical link between your statement about Shalogram Srila worship and people writing books.
If some spiritual master, whatever Srila Prabhupada desire, it fulfills somewhere or other, and then if that book come out,
I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should be more specific. Anyway, the question is, why should people be jealous? Why is anyone jealous? It's just it's an impurity, that's all. You mean someone wrote a book about Shalogram Shilas or something?
No, just explain, like some spiritual master writing a books. If someone write one or two books, people like you write more books. But then devotees should be pleased that at least someone following Srila Prabhupada writing a book, so it will be easier for book distribution rather than becoming jealous. They should be pleased.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Yeah.
In this area, there every year is perform these retreats, and I'd like to know how beneficial.
All over the world there are retreats. You can call this a retreat if you like. It's just a name, isn't it? How beneficial is the retreat? It depends on the Depends on what goes on.
Specific for this
The
year.
retreat is hearing and chanting about Krishna according to the parampara system. Obviously it's going to be beneficial. If it's 100% that, then it's 100% beneficial. If it's 90% that, then it's less beneficial. If it's only 10% that, then not much beneficial. If it's not that at all, then it's useless. It's easy to understand, isn't it? Better not to retreat. Better go forward. Or if you retreat, come back and go out stronger. But yeah, it should be Krishna conscious, that's the point. If it's like a social gathering with a little bit of Krishna consciousness thrown in, it's not so valuable. Or if every time there has to be something new and different, some juggling show, standing on your head, or traveling in mystic dimensions, it's not required. Better stick to what Prabhupada gave us. And it should be rising early also. I don't like many of these gatherings. Devotees aren't seen till like 7 o'clock in the morning. And then the point is coming together to... Most of the devotees are congregational devotees and don't have a regular program to the extent the devotees in the temples are supposed to have. So when we come together for these camps, at least at that time we can have a morning program. But if they don't get up in the morning, then what kind of example is that? They go on till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then get up at 7 o'clock. But why? What's the point? Better take rest early, get up early. If you stay up till 1 o'clock, you're in such ecstasy chanting, still you should get up early in the morning. Shouldn't skip the Brahma Muhurta. That was the example Prabhupada said. If you're not so advanced that you can get by on 2 hours rest, then take rest early. Get up for Mangalarti. Like that. There's one more question here. Yeah, I'll finish soon. Yeah.
I just would like to share one of my realization, which is about to be your disciple, and how we can, preach about you, is that by example, where we attend programs at temple to be in Vaishnava clothes and wear tilak, which is rare nowadays, very rare, and to practice simple practice that Prabhupada gave us, to chant and to eat prasadam, simple things, not something big deal. Cook prasadam, be decent, be polite, just chant and be normal devotee. And set that example that it is possible, to be strict and not to, do much endeavor to be strict.
Yeah, I'm said to be strict. Well, what's strict? Just is it very difficult to wear devotee clothes and take prasadam, rise early in the morning? What was considered normal at one point is now considered like something fantastically strict and rigid. It's just very, like you said, it's just very normal, simple things. And this idea we always have to show something great, prema bhav, or some different kind of mystic realization. What's wrong with just following the simple things that Prabhupada gave us? And it makes a different atmosphere, doesn't it? If everyone's in shorts and t-shirts with all kinds of weird things on them and bongo drums, and it makes it's a different mood altogether, isn't it? Why is this program blissful? Why do people come year after year in the rain and the mud and the cold in Lika? Why? What are they coming for? The prasadam's great, but I don't think that. I don't think that's whatever. It's because this simple program of chanting Hare Krishna and discussing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam that Prabhupada gave us is spiritual. It's on a higher level, so that gives happiness. We don't have to bring in anything artificial. We have all these bridge programs. The idea is to gradually bring people in. What about bringing them in at some point? We spend all our life on a bridge. At least when devotees come together, we should go over the bridge and chant Hare Krishna, right? And follow at the devotee programs, we're also doing yoga and mystic, whatever. What's the point? But it's nice, isn't it? Everyone's dressed in devotee clothes. It does make a difference, right? It makes a difference in the consciousness, isn't it? And we don't sing all kinds of whatever comes in your mind. See what wonderful thing you can think of. Some new kirtan you can think of. Let's just I heard at Radha Kund something new. Okay, I'm going to take it, and everyone will be impressed how I got some new kirtan, and no one else knows. And you go through the whole kirtan and no Hare Krishna. Just jai this, jai that, jai everything else. What about Hare Krishna mantra? It makes a difference if we stick to the simple chanting of Hare Krishna instead of just bringing in all kinds of things from all kinds of places, and just a big jumble.